Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to another virtual DMI What's Up Downtown Breakfast. I'm Jason Oster, president of Downtown Madison Inc. We're very sorry for the delay this morning. Had a few technical issues. Hopefully, we're nearing an end to the virtual events, though. As we end these virtual events, of course, we have problems. So I apologize for our delay today, but don't worry. We have a fantastic program ahead. We are going to hear from the amazing Michael Johnson, the president and CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Dane County, on all of the amazing accomplishments they've had over the last few years, their plans moving forward, and their incredible space downtown. We could not be more excited about what Michael has to say. We've got the full hour here today with him, and we're going to have time for question and answer at the end. So if you have questions, send them in to the chat. And I can ask those questions away for you. But before we begin today, we've got several new members here at DMI that we want to say thank you to and welcome to our organization. We have Automation Arts with Eric Trump. It's great for them to be back. We're so excited. We have Elevate. And we have with Abigail Corso, we have Fox Arneson with Andrew Graysky, Madison Originals with David Clark-Sally. It's good to see you, David. We have Monarch Addiction Recovery Services with Dr. Michael Replinger, which we should note they have an open house coming up on June 30th from either 11 to 1 or 4 to 6 at their location on 521 East Washington. So go check out their really important facility on East Wash there. Olbrich Botanical Gardens and Joe Vanderslunt is back. So excited to welcome the Progress Center for Black Women and Sabrina Madison, who has a new office on 30 West Mifflin on the square. Can't wait to see the new space. Sabrina, welcome to DMI. And Solace Friends Incorporated and Catlett, an amazing organization helping homeless people at the end of their lives. So welcome to all of our new members. We've got a couple of other cool announcements, some great programming happening over the next few weeks. Excited on our next series of the Madison-Milwaukee Downtown Exchange. This is a quarterly series we're now running thanks to our friends at Reinhardt and with Bolt. This is a discussion series about the futures of both cities and the futures of both downtowns. Our next meeting is going to be Tuesday, June 29th at 8 a.m., where we have a conversation on the future of commercial real estate. We've got a great panel discussion of members from both sides, so please do join us. Check out our website for this information. John, as always, has sent it right in the chat. Well done, John. We also are excited to announce the new partnership we have with Access to Independence, the City of Madison's Disability Rights Commission, in the Beyond Compliance Committee of DMI for a report on festivals and events accessibility in Madison. We've got a great report out there to help guide the organizers to make sure that their event is accessible and is welcoming for everyone, including a training for event organizers on July 13th from 4 to 6. Check out our website there as well. Next up, we have a word from our Vice Chair, Mark Richardson, on a few updates with DMI. Good morning, Mark. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great, okay. My friend. I can hear you great.
No technical difficulties. Well, thank you, Jason, and good morning to the DMI members. I look forward to hearing from Michael today. Do I have to say the amazing Michael Johnson, or
absolutely yes?
Is that official?
Amazing to Michael, or amazing to Dr. Replinger, or Sabrina Madison, or all these great people that are joining DMI. So please use amazing as much as you can.
I'm looking forward to hearing what Michael has to say. Talk about a tireless community leader. Always something going on for the Boys and Girls Club. But before we do that, I want to share that DMI held its first in-person event over a year and a half at June's New Faces, New Places. The event was hosted by our friends at Bree Stevens Field. Love that venue for everything. It doesn't matter whether it's a forward game or a concert. Love it. And it drew over 150 members for drinks and socializing in person and live. Do you remember that? Drinks and socializing? It's an amazing thing. It was a great event. Appreciate everybody who came out and showed up, especially since it was like 103 in the shade that day. we're in the process of planning more live events, so stay tuned. Please keep an eye on our email list and on our website. So we appreciate everybody coming out for that. I'd also like to share an update on DMI's recent diversity, equity, and inclusion work. For over the last 8 months, we've been working with our friends at Step Up Equity Matters to provide DMI board, staff, inclusiveness committee members, professional development in the space of DE&I. We felt this work was necessary to help our organization evolve and help us be a leader in downtown as we come out of COVID and the unrest of last year. We've already seen this work show up in our partnerships and the work we're doing. So it's exciting to see where else this can take us. If you want to see what else we're into, the civic engagement agenda just came out. I believe it's already been sent. Yes. All right. I see a thumbs up from Jason. So do take a look at that. And if you want to get involved in any committees or in any way, please just reach out to Jason, myself. Anybody on the DMI staff would be happy to get you involved. So look for that in the coming weeks. And with that, I'll send it back to Jason.
Well, that was the amazing Mark Richardson, DMI Vice Chair, President and co-founder of Unfinished Business LLC, for the update. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for all your help. You are a fantastic vice chair of the organization. We can't wait for next year when you become one of the co-chairs. Before we continue this program, though, we want to thank and recognize our sponsors. We honestly would not be here today without all of you. Our major series sponsor, Whipfleet LLP. Thank you so much, the entire team. Our supporting series sponsors, Ho-Chunk Gaming, Madison, Michael Best, and Friedrich, State Bank of Cross Plains. And our special contributors, the Edgewater Hotel. We hope to be back soon at the Edgewater, UW Health, Unity Point Health, Meritor Courts. And we are just so excited. Thank you for your continued partnership. We honestly would not be here. And to say a few words today for our friends at Whipfleet, we have Jessica McNaughton, the tax partner, and she is also the Madison Market Geographic Leader and a good friend of DMI. Good morning, Jessica. How are you today?
Good morning, everyone, from that part of it. I'm for this. I told people, or Jason earlier, I'm like, we're glad this one is still virtual since I've caught the summer cold from that. So this way, stay away and keep everyone else healthy from that part of it. So good morning, everyone. We're happy to sponsor What's Up Downtown Breakfast Series. As Jason said, I'm Jessica McNaughton. I'm one of the partners here at Whipfleet. Whipfleet has over a 90+ year history of making positive impacts with exceptional service to our more than 84,000 clients on their accounting and business consulting needs. We see the successes that it's just a continued process. It's not linear, but it's always advancing, always processing from curiosity to clarity to get results. And we're excited to hear from Michael Johnson, who's been a longtime friend of Whipfleet, from that, the amazing Michael Johnson, of what's going on to see with the clubs and how we can go ahead and continue to keep our kids to be able to reach their full potential. So with that, without further ado, we'll go back to Jason to hear from Michael.
Thank you, Jessica, very much. We really do appreciate it. Hope you feel better soon. Now, on to the show, why you guys are all here today. It is my pleasure and my honor to welcome Michael Johnson here today. Michael is the president and CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Dane County, which is an agency that he's led on an amazing journey. In his 11 years, the club has made significant accomplishments, including developing 2 bold 5-year strategic plans that resulted in more than 22,000 donors, contributing more than $50 million in financial resources and another $3.5 million in crisis relief efforts. The club has also created the largest public-private partnership with MMSD, the Metropolitan Municipal School District, while investing more than $18 million in direct resources to local high schools, helping the district to close the achievement gap. Michael's received the Boys and Girls Club of America Heart and Soul Award, which is the highest honor among club executives, and was named Man of the Year by Madison 365 and appointed to Governor Evers' Val Phillips Task Force. So excited about that. He's earned his BA from Chicago State University and an MBA from the University of Phoenix. We are just so excited to have Michael here today. Michael, welcome. How are you doing this morning, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on this morning, and appreciate being a part of this today.
We are so excited, Michael, for you to be here. Michael's going to give a presentation, give a nice discussion about all the things that are happening at the Boys and Girls Club, and there are a lot, and in particular attention to the amazing new facility they have downtown. So, Michael, the floor is yours. Remember, if you have any questions for Michael, send them in through the chat or the Q&A function. We'll have a little bit of time at the end. Michael, we're ready to hear more.
Let me first say, Jason and Mark, thank you for your leadership, and really appreciate all the work that Downtown Madison Inc. is not only providing for our downtown area, but for our city in general. I also want to thank, Peter Gray, who is leading up an effort to support a campaign that Downtown Madison Inc. is helping Boys and Girls Clubs to create a brand new regional workforce center for young people in this community. So kudos to you all. Downtown Madison Inc. Is our #1 fundraising team as of this morning. You all have raised $10,477 to help Boys and Girls Clubs of Dane County. This morning, I want to talk to you all about 6 things. And I'm going to try to do it in about 30 minutes and hope to take 10 minutes of questions. One, I want to tell you a little bit about who I am, how I grew up. 2, I want to tell you why I took this job 11 and a half years ago with Boys and Girls Clubs of Dane County. The third thing I want to talk to you about is how we have scaled our work in the Madison Metropolitan School District, and how we now have evidence-based practices that are showing how we are closing the academic achievement gap for kids of color. The fourth thing I want to talk about is our impact in the community, and then how we pivoted during COVID-19. And then I want to conclude talking to you all about, I think, which is probably one of the biggest equity issues in our community, is creating career and workforce pathways for kids in our community. And so I'm going to conclude by talking about this regional youth workforce center that we're going to create in the city of Fitchburg. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, I am somebody that grew up in the projects in Chicago. I grew up in a neighborhood that was infested with gangs, drugs, and prostitution. And I would tell you that if it was not for the Boys and Girls Clubs and after school programs, I would not be serving as your local Boys and Girls Club CEO today. And it wasn't until I was working at Chicago Public Schools that our superintendent asked me to come to be the commencement speaker. And I think I was 23 years old at the time. And no one had ever at that point asked me to give such a speech. So I remember staying up all night, and I wrote a 37-page commencement speech for a bunch of 8th graders. And I remember walking in this building, and they had all of the 8th grade graduation pictures going back to like 1960. And I remember seeing my class, and I remember counting the number of young men who went to school with me. And only four out of 23 young men at that time were still alive. And so I remember walking in that building, and I said, I got to talk to these kids about survival. And I tore that speech up. And later, about a year later, we all got together and we said, why were we giving grace? And there was 4 things that we had in common. We all came from single family households. We all had jobs. We were all working at 13 and 14 years old. We all had mentors, and we were all connected to after school programs. And I knew at that moment, I was going to dedicate the rest of my life helping to minimize those kinds of statistics. Unfortunately, I had my fair share of challenges. I went to one of the lowest performing high schools in the state of Illinois. I was somebody that couldn't read, I couldn't write at college proficiency. It took me 8.5 years to get my bachelor's degree. I ended up getting a football scholarship to go to, and don't hold it against me, the University of Minnesota. And I couldn't academically compete So I ended up going to a junior college, Malcolm X College on the west side of Chicago. And it took me 4.5 years to get my associate's degree. And then it took me another 4 years to get my bachelor's degree from Chicago State. And just about a week ago, somebody who grew up in the projects just wrapped up last week a program at the Harvard Business School. And so when I look at what we could do for young people in this community, we have to set the bar high. And Madison is a place that we could do phenomenal things for young people in this community if we invest appropriately, hire the right people, and have the will to challenge the status quo. So I came into this position 11.5 years ago, working as a deputy commissioner for one of the largest park systems in this country. And there was a company called QTI who recruited me to Madison. And when I learned about the city, I didn't know anybody here 11.5 years ago. But what I did know from my research is that this city was named one of the best places in the world to live. But I also saw that at the time that this city had the second largest achievement gap in the United States. And I wanted to come to a place where I could utilize my leadership skills to help make a difference in this community. And we started a program called the Avid program. And that's how we thought that we would help address equity issues for young people of color in this community. And it was a program that was started by, Mary Burke. And it started with, she was the chair of the Boys and Girls Club board. And at that time, when we started, it started at East High School with 28 students. And now today, 1,600 young people are enrolled in both our high school programs and in our college preparatory programs. 90% of the students are from low-income families, youth of color, first-generation college students like I was. In the last 5 years, let me just tell you the exact number, 4,476 students have graduated from our program over the last 5 years, and there is not one nonprofit organization in the state of Wisconsin that can show through a third-party assessment that they're moving the academic needle for kids of color. 84% of our students have persisted in college year after year. There's been 5 studies done by the University of Wisconsin that show that our kids in this program receive higher cumulative GPAs, report fewer absences in school, receive more AP and honor course credits. And then guess what? The most important thing, 97% of our kids are graduating from high school and going on to college. Just this past February, Chancellor Blank went on the record and said, because of Boys and Girls Club's partnership with UW-Madison, we have helped them create the largest freshman class of color in the history of the University of Wisconsin. And so let me share with you our track record of performance. We are an agency that just don't talk the talk, we walk the walk. We've grown from serving 1,800 kids when I started back in 2010 to serving 7,000 kids across Dane and Walworth County. We've grown from being an after-school program provider in one club in Madison to now running preschool programs, tutoring programs in 11 schools, to running summer sports camps. And now we have the largest public-private partnership in both the Madison and the Verona School District, and invest more resources than any other nonprofit organization in Dane County. And now, because of the generosity of urban land interest through a connection that Tiffany Kinney and Jason made, we are now downtown and have an amazing volunteer center in the heart of our city. We also have assigned staff that work at Madison College, Edgewood College, UW-Madison, and we're the only program that we believe that serve young people all the way through preschool through college completion. Boys and Girls Clubs have worked hard to diversify our funding stream, making us one of the fastest growing Boys and Girls Clubs in the United States. When I came back in 2010, we had 1,900 donors. Today, we have over 22,000 donors that provide on average $225 per person to invest in the services that we provide to young people in our community. I'm also proud that people enjoy working for us. We do a third-party engagement survey every year by a company called Quantum Workplace. And we want to make sure that people enjoy working for Boys and Girls Clubs, that they learn. And I'm proud that we've had people that come here and they move on to become executives in the school districts, presidents of foundations, leaders of nonprofit organizations. And in fact, we've had several members of our leadership team go on to work for the University of Wisconsin and private institutions. There was a study done by a third-party group that shows that the investments that people make in the Boys and Girls Clubs of Dane County returns $9.60 back into our community. Since I've led this organization, we've had a decade of clean audits, balanced budgets, and our clubs is what I call country clubs. They're bright, they're clean, and when you walk into our clubs, when I took over, they used to be dark and gloomy, and now any kid, every kid in this community is welcome in our facilities. And I would encourage each member of Downtown Madison Inc. to visit our club on the square. It's an amazing facility. We're always looking for volunteers to support the work that we do in our community. And I'm very, very proud that Boys and Girls Clubs have a club on what we call the square. But I gotta tell you, this year during the pandemic scared the living daylights out of me. And as a nonprofit executive, I had to figure out, how do we put the needs of our community first? How do we protect the work that we do for kids in this community? And I'm proud that our community has stepped up to not only help Boys and Girls Clubs, but to help our community at large. And this is a very, very generous community. And while we have our challenges, I believe there are a lot of people like you that want to help young people and those who are the most marginalized in our city. When the pandemic first hit back, I think in last March or April, I remember the day that our city and our county and our state shut down. And we were concerned about, kids usually eat at school. And we said, how are we going to feed kids? And usually it take our local municipalities and our county and state governments, because of the legislative process, time to respond. The very next day, we worked with local nonprofits and restaurants, and we launched food carts all over the city to feed kids. We ended up launching a campaign with United Way and Selfless Ambition, and within 2 weeks raised $2 million and gave every penny to 59 different nonprofits. And I remember even some of our stakeholders saying, wow, why are we not keeping any of that money at Boys and Girls Clubs? And I remember a mentor of mine saying, if you do good by the community will do good by you. And so we tried to live by that example. And as a result of that, we provided 142,000 meals for young people and families and senior citizens in our community. We began after hearing that first responders, including doctors and nurses, was eating out of vending machines. We provided 1,000+ meals that we took to hospitals and first responders to make sure that they were eating healthy meals. While people were cutting back on providing paid interns for young people, we quadrupled down and found employment opportunities for 141 teenagers who were making $15 an hour to make sure that they were working and gaining practical work experience during the pandemic. We then had to pivot, and we're used to hundreds of kids being in our clubs, and we ended up providing over 200 videos to provide virtual programming for young people in our community. We were concerned that people who live in marginalized situations and may not be able to afford to get access to face masks, we traveled all over the country to bring face masks back to this community. I personally drove all the way to Kentucky And as a result of that, we distributed 1.8 million face masks to people in our community, which I believe is the largest face mask distribution campaign in the state of Wisconsin by a local nonprofit organization, with us providing over 500,000 of those face masks to our local school districts. We also provided 7,901 emergency grants to local families in this community for rent and utilities and supplies that they needed the first month that COVID hit this community. We provided 74,492 care boxes for households. Many of our volunteers and our staff are providing essential resources to families in need. We were the first nonprofit that worked with the city and the county to provide COVID-19 testing within weeks of COVID-19 striking our community, with more than 1,000 people coming to get tested in our local clubs. We then reached out to the NFL. We found out that the NFL combine closed. We reached out to them and asked them to send us all of their football cleats and Under Armour gear. And we were successful, receiving over $1 million in football cleats that we distributed to the high schools and local organizations, not only in Dane County, but throughout the state of Wisconsin, secured over 5,000 pairs of Under Armour cleats and gloves that we distributed to young people throughout this community. When all the civil unrest was happening downtown, we raised over $200,000 to support those local businesses. And even when some people disagreed that we shouldn't be doing this, those same businesses, when we were raising $2 million to support families in need, it was some of those same businesses that had donated to support our local efforts. And so I was proud that our volunteers stepped up. When the civil unrest was happening downtown, the very next day, we put a call to action and over 3,000 people, our volunteers at Boys and Girls Club, showed up with brooms and other supplies to clean up glass to make sure that we rebounded from that. We then, as a result of that, began to continue to raise money to support efforts downtown. I heard loud and clear after work with me, Renee Moe, the president of the school board, Gloria Reyes, Anthony Cooper, and myself had stayed out all night walking the state capitol, the night that all of the garbage cans were being burned down. And I remember walking in our downtown area, just concerned about what I saw, but also understood the pain that people was experienced with the death of George Floyd. And we wanted to respond in a very constructive way. And I remember at 4:55 a.m., as we were concluding, there was a group of young people right at the hills of the state capitol had approached myself and Renee and Anthony Cooper and said there's no representation of Black people at our state capitol. And if you want to do something, Mr. Johnson, tackle that issue. And so I called the governor's office that next morning and confirmed that there was no representation of Black people at the Capitol. The very next day, I called Speaker Voss and demanded a meeting with him, and he took the meeting, and I brought some of the young activists to his office so he could hear directly from them. And then within a week later, we launched a campaign for a woman by the name of Bill Phillips, who was the first African-American woman in this state to be elected to a statewide office, the first actually in this country to be elected to a statewide office, the first African-American woman to become a judge in the state of Wisconsin, and she's the first of many. And so we've been working with the Executive Residency Board. We launched a campaign that raised over $310,000. And if we're successful next month, Bill Phillips will be the first woman in the United States of America, first Black woman to have a statue erected in her honor. And that's possibly going to happen right here in our downtown and our state capital. Also, during the pandemic, during the holidays, it was important for us to provide relief to families. We provided over $100,000 in gifts, working with organizations like Target, who allowed us to bring families in their stores to get whatever they wanted. We did over 50 shopping sprees. I've never in my life spent so much time in Target. I think I spent 120 hours going up and down those aisles, helping families shop and get whatever they need. We provided 500 Thanksgiving meals to families in need, donated 4 cars to families in need. And this is not money that came from Boys and Girls Club. These were donors who reached out to us and said, let's be a blessing to families in need. There was a young girl in our city that was shot and killed, an 11-year-old girl by the name of Anissa Scott. I was traumatized after learning what happened to her. I knew that this young girl. I actually played cards with her grandmother and her family. I used to see this young girl in the living room, in the kitchen, and I would ask her, "Can you bring me a couple of them cookies out the refrigerator?" And when I had learned that she was murdered, we immediately reached out to the family and wanted to make sure that she had an amazing homecoming. And this city stepped up and we planned her funeral, and we had it at Breeze Stevens Field. We organized a march, but on top of that, this community stepped up, and many members of Downtown Madison Inc. helped to do a home makeover for Anissa Scott's mother and provided over $120,000 in upgrades to her house. And I'm so thankful that you all stepped up. But beyond that, one of the things that have bothered me about even our work, while we've done a lot, we have to do more. And one of the challenges that we have faced in this city is that we have helped a lot of kids. We've promoted that kids should go to college, but we also know in America, only 27% of working age adults have college degrees. And what about those kids who don't go to college? What pathways do we have for them? So about 5 years ago, there's a gentleman by the name of John McKenzie. He gave us the largest scholarship that I know of for one student. He said, "Michael, I want to give you $100,000 to help one student go to college." And I said, "100,000 for one student?" He said, "Yeah." So about 6 years ago, we helped a young lady go to UW-Madison. He provided, him and Joe Ellen and his wife gave us $100,000. He said, "Pay for everything, room, board, money that she might need." And her name is Christabel. Christabel graduated this year from the University of Wisconsin debt-free. But the challenge is a lot of young people come out of school with all this debt. And when you look at some young people, I got a friend who is in skilled trades, and here's somebody who don't even have a college degree, built his business from scratch, and now employed over 200 people and did over $7 million in revenue last year. And when you look at that industry and the opportunities that's there, we got to do everything that we can to create a pathway for those young people as well. And that's why we're building this regional youth workforce center. We want to teach kids how to become plumbers, carpenters, electricians. We want to teach, there's going to be an entrepreneurship center in this facility where we can teach them about budgets and budget forecasting, marketing and development and life skills, so they can also be great and have access in this space. And I just believe that our partnership with the Madison Area Builders Association, the connections that John McKenzie has and the ideas that we have, that we're going to make this one of the best youth workforce centers in this country. This will be the only facility that I know of that Boys and Girls Clubs of America will have, and we're going to make it one of the best. We're going to make it one of the brightest. We're going to raise, it's going to cost us about $5 million to build out this facility. We're purchasing John McKenzie, have decided that he's going to purchase this building. He owns a company called, he's a local developer and owns a lot of residential real estate, longtime supporter of Boys and Girls Clubs. He said, Michael, I'm going to purchase the building for Boys and Girls Club. He closed on the building on July 9th. He's going to gift that property to Boys and Girls Club. It cost over $1 million. We were very, very fortunate. I met with Pleasant Rowland. And some of you all may have heard about this in the newspaper. She gave us a grant for $5 million to support this effort. But it doesn't work unless we build a strong foundation and ensure that this workforce center is here for the years and decades to come. So I want to create the largest endowment fund at the Madison Community Foundation. That's our dream. That's the dream of John's. That's the dream of our organization, the Madison Area Builders Association. And you have to have a strong endowment to make sure that this program is here for perpetuity. So we've raised about $1 million towards that fund already through the Move for BGC campaign. We've had over 1,200 donors already raised. I think it's $860,000 we're at so far, with Downtown Madison Inc. being our largest donor to date. And so I want to ask you to continue to raise money for this project. We want you to join us on July 17th. You can bike, you can walk, you can come and volunteer, or you could join Crazy Jason and Crazy Peter, who is walking 50 miles in the next week to help raise money for this effort. But we need your ongoing support, and I'm going to make a commitment to you. Just like we did with our Avid Tops program, this is going to be an evidence-based project. This is going to add value to our public school system. We're going to collaborate with other nonprofits like Habitat for Humanity, Operation Fresh Start, and leverage the resources that they have, including Big Step, to make sure that our kids have access to the amazing jobs. The average building trades worker in this community makes $42,000 a year, and we got to connect. That's economic opportunity. That's closing the gap, the wealth gap in our community. That's closing the employment gap in our community. And I think there's no better project than something like this. So Jason, Mark, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. And thank you for your support. So if we got time, I'll be happy to take questions.
Amazing was the word of the beginning of the day, and it is absolutely true. Your inspiration, your energy, your passion, your innovation, your creativity, your work ethic, everything you're doing on and on to a better community and a more equitable community for everyone, welcoming for our entire city is fantastic. We cannot thank you enough for everyone here at Downtown Madison Inc. from us, from the board of directors. So thank you so much, Michael. We got some time for questions. If you have questions, send them in through the chat or in through the Q&A. We can ask those questions. First question, you've got this great new facility, thanks to the partnership with ULI, literally at the center of downtown, with this amazing building, which we're going to ask a question. We'll ask a question on in a second. But what's your long-term vision for your presence downtown?
I will be there forever. I hope that, urban land interests and donors will step up. I would love to see a child care facility down there. I would love to see a regional, a downtown workforce center for teens where we can add internships for young people. I would love to see us there over the next, decade or so. But we need space. But I also would love to see, businesses of color doing pop-up shops out of there. So I'll give an example. There's an organization called Black Umbrella that was in that space, and a donor came by who works downtown, happened to come look for me, and John McKenzie and I actually just met with him last night. And he walked in that center and heard about what they were doing for homeless people and agreed to buy them a house right there on the spot. So those connections are unbelievable. There's another Black-owned business named JC Landscaping. I think it's the largest Black-owned landscaper in Dane County. They've done training, out of that space. Then we got the Links organization. They had a retreat in there. Then you got Feeding the Youth. There's all these groups coming in there. So I hope it is a hub where nonprofit organizations can utilize that space to host events, to host fundraisers, that Black and brown businesses feel encouraged to use that space to help promote their businesses and to be able to raise money. And I think we can be that bridge builder that can help make those connections.
I think the obvious next question is, how can the DMI community help support the Boys and Girls Club in the center downtown?
Yeah, so I would say volunteers is what makes us, is our secret sauce, right? If nonprofits don't have a strong volunteer base, you're probably not going to be successful, right? It's one thing to give money and we welcome it, but the money will come if you got strong volunteers. So we're always looking for board members. We have 32 very influential board members. We're always looking for associate board members. We have about 10 committees. We have the McKenzie Family Boys and Girls Club Board. We have a board in Walworth County. We have a workforce board. So we're always looking for volunteers to help us during our governance structure, but we're also looking for volunteers who can connect with our young people. Through our Avid Tops program, we bring speakers in every week to talk to young people about careers. And so we're always looking for people to give us their time, their talent, and if they're fortunate to also give of their treasure.
Well, perfect. And honest, we've got a great opportunity coming up on July 10th, where Peter Gray, myself, several of us are walking 50 miles for all of the money we raise, which there was a link earlier. Please donate to the DMI team. We're walking 50 miles for the Boys and Girls Club. And the money that we raise helps support the downtown facility. So please, I'll give my feet, you give your money, and we'll be great. But the one opportunity we want to acknowledge for everyone, we've got a really important part of the middle section. We're going to meet at 8 a.m. at Pike Park with a curator from the Wisconsin History Museum to give a Black history tour of downtown. Michael, can you speak to the importance of the building you're in now, the American Exchange Building, the Val Phillips statue area, which we hope gets built and DMI is huge supporters of, and our board is 100% behind it. And then continuing that tour on to Forest Hills Cemetery, and this 5-mile walk you can join us on and at 8 o'clock on July 10th. Please tell us that story of that building, how important it is.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask Laura Ford Harris, who's our Chief Development Officer, on this call. I'm going to ask her to share a link. That building was actually owned, the first usage of it was owned by an African-American banker who purchased that building. And a lot of people don't know that rich history. And so I would just encourage people, part of the walk is to celebrate, his history and the connection, to that space. And so I would just encourage people to come, take a tour of the facility, utilize it. And then even if, people who run small businesses, whether it's a business of color or not, we embrace folks utilizing that space and taking advantage of it. So we'll share a link, learn more about the history of that space. And it's just phenomenal. Like first of all, it was very, very generous of urban land interest. That space, we got 3 storefronts. That space go for about $30,000 a month. You know how much they're charging us? Zero. And so we have a commitment to leverage that resource and to make sure that we're letting other people take advantage of that investment. And we plan to do that, Jason.
Really, one note, someone asked again where we're meeting at 8 o'clock on July 10th at McPike Park. We're going to have folks from the Wisconsin History Museum, Historical Society, We're going to have Michael Johnson. So please do join us for this important tour of downtown. Speaking of downtown, a great question from the audience. How do we get more businesses of color downtown? This is a goal that we should all have in the community.
Yeah, I think, I think part of the challenge here, in Madison is, one, that's why we want to create this entrepreneurship center. I think we have to inspire young people to become entrepreneurs first, right? Secondly, those who are entrepreneurs, how do we provide some startup funding to be able to support them to get started and then coach them as they start their businesses? I was somebody that started a business at 21 and I failed miserably. I opened up a restaurant, made some bad business decisions. And that's why I went to school. All my degrees are in business. I got an MBA, a bachelor's in business, All my degrees are in business because we have to learn and even as a nonprofit leader, you have to have business acumen to run the business side of what you do. And so I think it's important that we provide some of those types of services to small businesses, and that we connect them to opportunities that can give them some startup capital to help them be successful. And so I could see some businesses provide mentoring and coaching support to them. And I think that's critical. And it's also about, relationships. I've seen people in here in Madison start businesses and then not be able to sustain them. There are a lot of small businesses here who are thriving. And I think that if people are willing to step out their box, just last night, John McKenzie and I met with a minority-owned business owner last night, sold his company for like $60 million right here in Madison. And it was a downtown business that actually invested in his startup back in 2001. And he made this comment. He said, when I sold I won't say who it is, I don't want to share too much, but he said, when I sold my business, this particular owner of this property allowed me to stay there for free, and he became an equity partner. That equity was about $50,000, and when I sold my business, he got about $500,000 return. So you think about that, right? Here's somebody who believed in a person of color. That person became very, very successful and now is employing a couple hundred people. And that's how you cascade that support to those who need us the most. We need to see that quadruple throughout the city. That
amazing, powerful story about what can happen when we support the entire community, make it equitable. This question, actually, our last question of the day is the mutual aid that the Boys and Girls Club was able to provide sounds a lot like we saw with survival programs, the Black Panther Party for self-defense in the 1960s. How are children and teens being supported in their own political development? Is critical thinking a component of that curriculum? I think youth political development is so key right now as to what's
absolutely. So let me just tell you, I've always tried to be a bridge builder, and what I've learned is that bridge builders get walked on from both sides of the bridge, right? And so I experienced that this summer. There was so many people throwing rocks at me. I was like, God, that was a brick, that hurts. But I say that to say that there was a lot of young people that approached me this summer. The Vale Phillips idea was not my idea. That idea came from young people who are young activists in this community. Also, I got thrown a lot of shade for the whole peacekeeper thing that we introduced, sending peacekeepers downtown. That was not my idea. That was an idea that came from a lot of youth activists that met with me from West High School and said, no, we don't want people policing us, but we are concerned that we need some adults that can provide PPP gear. So if young people are doing something wrong, that kind of redirect them. If there's a medical issue that's out there, Mr. Johnson, help us raise the money to be able to do that. And so our organization is always willing to meet, always willing to support and make sure that our young people's voices are elevated and empowered. We've always done that. We will continue to do that. And we will allow them to lead in a way that we can be very, very supportive, but also help provide some guidance and some coaching as they develop and take over the city.
Michael, from all of us at DMI, we again cannot thank you enough for all you're doing for our entire community. Thank you for your support of downtown as well. We are here as an organization to help with whatever you need. If it's walking 50 miles, if it's connections, if it's help in whatever way is, we will do that for you. Thank you all for joining us today at the latest What's Up Downtown breakfast. We would not be here again without our sponsors. Thank you to Whip LLP, Ho Chunk Gaming Madison, Michael, Best, and Friedrich, the State Bank of Cross Plains, UW Health, Unity Point Courts, and our friends at the Edgewater Hotel, which we hope we're going to be back at soon. So thank you again to our sponsors. And again, we appreciate all of you. Hopefully we'll see you downtown for a farmer's market, or we'll see you at the Boys and Girls Club right on the square, or we'll see you for the Great Walk on July 10th. But no matter what you do, continue to support the Boys and Girls Club and everything they do for our community. Michael, thank you very much. Thank you to Jessica. Thank you to Mark. as well for being here with us. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you all.